The last time I was employed, I rather got my fingers burnt.
Right.
I walked around, I was going around like that for weeks. I wasn't there very long at Leeds, and the sack, you know, really hit me right between the eyes.
How did it happen? I mean, how does someone who employed you 40-odd days earlier give you the sack? Does he say...
well, it's very special. It's very special, the men with the ability to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because 44 days ago, before I got the sack, they were saying that they hoped I was there for life. And then 44 days ago, they're saying, well, you know, I'm not quite sure whether we've made the right decision. And I said to them, well, I said, I'm absolutely certain I've made the wrong decision with you bloody lot. And it went on those type of lines.
I see. And did he actually say in the end, Mr. Cousins, did he actually say, you're sacked?
Oh, no. No, it's never done as brutal as that. That would be far too forthright. That would be far too literally to the point. I could have coped with that type of thing quite easily. Because in football management, you live with a sack. You live with the thought of it in the back of your mind. And if it hits you between the eyes with those very words, you don't really mind. You've attuned to it and, you know, built up a resistance to it over the years. It's done a little bit more subtle. It's done with a smile. It's done with a, you know, you're sitting on a settee in perhaps in somebody's house. I'm assuming this is the way it's done. It's the first time it's happened to me.
Right, and this was how it's done in this particular case? And when did they tell you they were going to give you a golden handshake or whatever? At the same time?
Oh, no, they didn't tell me. Then it was a case of the conditions that I would leave the club. Because I wasn't, you know, nobody sacks anybody and when they just lie down and die, not after 44 days. Nobody does that, David.
Mm. But they gave you this golden payoff afterwards, did they? Was there any consolation? Was that, you've said £98,000 or something?
It was something going on to that, you know. I paid a few bob tax, obviously. It was a consolation at the time, but never sufficient. Money's never sufficient for anything. Believe it or believe it not, it's never sufficient for anything.
Should you have known before you went that it would never work, or could you have made it work if you'd done it differently?
I could have made it work having had time. Obviously, it's inevitable I made a few mistakes during the 44 days.
What sort of mistake?
Well, perhaps I didn't give them chance enough to get over the guy that was there before me, because he was there for a long time. Perhaps I wanted to, you know, get with them the same feeling as they'd had with the other guy. I'm loath to mention him, you know, and if we can refrain from doing it, we'll do so. It's
really like the other House of Commons. You hate to mention him. Why?
I hate to mention him. Why? Because he's a very talented man and I don't like him. Don't ask me why. Because it is. That's exactly what. He's a very talented man and his record is unsurpassable. But I just don't happen to like him. And I don't like the way he goes about football either. Football is a game of opinion. There are people in your profession perhaps don't like the way you do your bit.
Sure.
And, you know, it makes the game go round. There's half of the country don't like a Labour government. Just happens that the other half do.
Why don't you want me to ask why you don't like it?
Because I can't tell you. It's impossible. We'd get closed down, David.
What about dealing with people? What about dealing with the people you obviously motivated so well at Derby? Why did you do that so well?
If I did it well, thank you. I did it because, you know, I placed implicit trust in them, and I don't believe in hiding things from anybody. You know, get it all out. If we're working in a profession, then there's no point in having one hand behind your back. Get it all out. It's a very difficult thing on occasions to do, but if you give them your problems, and you in turn understand theirs, and share everything with them, then you can't go wrong. It's the only way to weld. And I believe in talking. I don't believe in... obviously I believe in talking, that's why I'm here. Yeah. But I believe in communicating. I don't believe in shooting guns and dropping bombs and that type of thing. I just believe in talking to people. You'd be amazed how many people want to talk and never get a chance.
And when you're talking to players, do you give them bad news on their own?
Oh, no.
Good news in a group, or what?
No, I believed in, if we were a team of 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, depending on the squad, I believed in dishing out anything collectively. You know, if there's any rollickings to go, I don't believe in hiding behind doors. You know, I believe in, as I say, getting it out in the open. And the same went for good news also. It welds something. It stops any inhibitions, I believe. Or it helps to stop inhibitions. And we'll get it all out. And it stops... I used to say that when we left the dressing room, or when we left the football pitch, or when we left anything, get out that front door and have nothing on the back of your mind. No worries, nothing, nobody, you know, weighting down on your shoulders, no things you wished you should have said. Just walk out, be tall, get out, you've done a day's work, irrespective of how well you've done it, and go home free and enjoy your wife and your children, your home life, and that type of thing, and then come back and we'll get at it again.
What about half-times in football matches? Could you change a team's morale? Is there a way of doing that, to go in when they're down and lift them?
There's a way of doing it if they
do
believe in you, and there's a way of motivating people and getting things across. There's a way of either lifting them or dampening them down, depending on the individual and depending on the character of the side. There's a way of doing that. Obviously, if things aren't going well and you tell them things aren't going well, too pronounced, then you have problems because you'll drive them further into the ground. It's essential to praise people. Everybody puts out stick, and you have to balance it. You have to balance criticism with praise. If you're onto your child, I've got a terrible problem at the moment because I've got a couple of kids. I've got 3 children, and obviously I want them to do well and I want them to grow up beautiful, and my wife pours love and intelligence and everything into them, and I tend to go in and say, come on, we've got to do this, this and this and this, and I think I've forgotten the last time I said what beautiful children they were. And you've got to find a balance.